Hello, my name is Sahar Driver, and I've been working in the documentary field for the last 15 years as an impact producer. And about a year and a half ago, I co-founded an organization alongside another veteran in the field named Sonia Childress called Color Congress. And thank you. I'm here to tell you why we believe the future of the documentary field lies in the people of color documentary ecosystem that we serve. This, I hope, is a fairly obvious statement in this room at this point, but I do think it's worth underscoring the unique role that documentaries play in social movements. And that's because they're not just entertainment and they're not just journalism. They are historical record. They're personal testimony. They offer visual research. The whole field of film impact rose up 20 or 30 years ago around documentaries because of their unique role in social movements. As I'm sure you're aware, there has been an explosion of documentaries, that's a line graph, of docs online of late. And that has largely been driven by the really strong storytelling of independent filmmakers. Unfortunately, the field faces some pretty significant challenges right now. First and foremost is consolidation, both of the commercial distribution around a few streaming platforms that has limited access to documentaries to those platforms, but also the consolidation of curation around entertainment-focused documentaries that offer escape, films about celebrities, about true crime or sports. These films are fine in and of themselves, but the cumulative impact of this consolidation has meant that audiences have less access to documentary films that bring us closer to the lived realities of our communities and the social issues that we're grappling with. And it's a real problem when filmmakers can't make a living telling the stories they want to tell on their own terms, whether the reason for that is the market or if it's government censorship. Another challenge lies in who gets to tell the stories. This is a study that Sonia was involved in that was conducted by American University's Center for Media and Social Impact. And it largely found that the stories that are being circulated on the streaming platforms, in public media, and on cable are stories about white men by white men. And while public media does a better job than streaming and cable, it's a problem that our field really faces, and we have to do a lot better. And yet, the organizations that have been leading the charge to address these inequities have historically been neglected. Beyond Inclusion, this is research that the Ford Foundation commissioned me to do in 2019. And that research surfaced an abundance of organizations led by people of color who are designed and built to serve people of color in the documentary field. And yet, despite doing really powerful and consequential work, they have not been respected, showcased, or funded, or even trusted to the same degree as their white peers. Yet these are the organizations that people of color trust the most. Color Congress is a response to this research, thanks to funding from the Ford Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, and the Perspective Fund. Our membership is composed of 93 people of color-led documentary organizations representing every major racial and ethnic identity in the country and every major region in the country. They are the engines for artists' work. They're film festivals, they're filmmaker collectives, they're artist support organizations and microcinemas. Some of these are veterans you've probably heard of: Black Star, Firelight Media, CAM, Center for Asian American Media here in the Bay Area. Some are maybe organizations that are veterans that you haven't heard of, like Kwakmap, which is also here in the Bay, the Haiti Heritage Film Festival, Olelo, which is in Oahu. New or old, these organizations are doing tremendous work. And if you haven't heard of them, you shouldn't be shocked because there's a reason for that. The filmmakers they support are not necessarily looking for commercial success. They're not using film to necessarily translate their experiences for broader audiences. Instead, these organizations and the filmmakers that they support are looking inward, and they insist that their communities be centered as audiences and as culture creators. These organizations also understand that it's really important for filmmakers of color to have their work met by communities of color that they were intended for. And they're also building the confidence, the leadership, and the power of communities of color by reflecting back their experiences to them. While you may not know many of these organizations, I assure you, almost every filmmaker of color in this country has gone through or will have gone through one or more of these organizations in their career. Given the longstanding and intractable inequities that POC filmmakers and these organizations face in the field, we knew we had to build the power of all of these organizations and at an ecosystem level. So we launched 3 intersecting programs. Research showed that these organizations were fragmented based on the racial and ethnic identity communities that they serve and the geographic communities where they're located. So we built a membership program to foster trust and connection among them. We meet every single month online. This is a regional mixer that's in person, but we meet every month online. In spaces like these, we're essentially co-creating a culture of peer learning and a trauma-informed, resilience-oriented culture with the help of some wellness coaches. We also created a model for collective decision-making. It's consent-based, and it takes a long time, but it's pretty important for the trust and shared identity that we're building together. And with this baseline of community and infrastructure in place, we now have the means for our members to address some of the external factors that do harm to some or the whole of our membership. We're also a funder with 2 funds. We offer organizational grants that have historically been disinvested in, and we stabilize them. Some of the smallest organizations operating with the smallest budgets under the most precarious conditions. And we have a field building fund, which is a member-driven fund to resource the collective needs and the collective ambitions of our entire membership. It's a participatory fund, and in the first year, they used it for technical assistance needs, and we did it in cohorts so that every single member of our organization got exactly what they needed. And this year, the fund is gonna resource a collective intervention that our entire membership agrees reflects their needs. Here's the bottom line. Narrative change is fundamental to culture change, and these documentary organizations, filmmakers and the organizations that support them are fundamental to that. But we shouldn't think of culture change as just top-down. These organizations, which are rooted in distinct identity communities and geographic communities, are helping to nurture the voices of these storytellers from those communities. They're building their visibility and their reach, and they're reflecting back and deepening community engagement with their histories and their present realities. And they're changing culture, and they're creating culture. Color Congress, by strengthening these organizations and creating connections between these communities and cultures, we're essentially scaling the culture shaping work that these organizations do from the ground up. We're just getting started. It's brand new, but we think we're building something powerful. And if you're interested in the work that we're doing, we hope you'll reach out.